it twisted, but there is there's social economics,
less liabilities.
Yes, there's social economics, less liabilities. So like, I think that I don't think that people talk enough about the ones like people feel as if, like a lot of people think like, oh, they do that because you could do what you do anywhere. I've seen you move throughout this whole the whole thing. So like, my question to you, this long drawn out question is that something that's direct or deliberate?
I mean, it's direct for me because, I mean, I'm rooted. I'm rooted from the ground and the soil, from where I come from. So one thing I feel like is if you are not able to remain what you built with where you come from, even with making change, that means you did a lot of wrong somewhere down the line that you can't remain where you came from. That's the best place to become a hero at, and I've never burned no bridges. I never did nothing to nobody that didn't have nothing coming. Conflicts that I had, I still see people to this day, and it's a mutual respect because they understand that you did something to me that allowed me to protect myself or deal with you in whatever manner that it was. It was never nothing personal or because I wanted to run around and be a bad guy. So the point that I'm making is that when you're rooted in your community and you stand for something, why would you want to leave your village if you don't have to? When you can become a role model and become an outlet for other people to plug in and to tap into your resources and the things that you do to help better your community. If you take your dollar out of your community and take it somewhere else, well, guess what? Your community stops growing. And I'm for the community, for the people, by the people. FUBU.
And tell us a little bit why that's a good segue. So just give us it's a good time to highlight, the work that you do in the community. So give us a quick update on just everything that you got your hands on right now.
Well, I mean, as you know, I came to you in like 1995. You had the Never Worry thing. You and my boy Mike Tanner, may rest in peace, because a lot of people don't know about Mike Tanner. When they think about Never Worry, they just think about DB. But me and you, we rooted with this, just like Armand Mason with me. Right. There was other guys that was behind us. You just always see the face of the movement. Yes, but sir. I'm gonna highlight the guys who gave us the glory in our story. Yes, because it took them guys to come and be a part of our brilliant ideals for us to launch them. And we was just young businessmen then. And if you look at it, because a real businessman gets money from other people to do business. Yes, and we were young businessmen at that time, and we had other people believing in us to invest their money for Never Worry to start and for Breaking Bread to start. So I say, going back to 95 when I first came to you for the Breaking Bread clothing line, since then, it just has trendsetted, you know what I mean? Like, when you become good at one thing, it allows other things to happen. And from you helping me and my peoples get a start with building the Breaking Bread clothing line, later it went to Breaking Bread Films and Family Entertainment, Parties and Promotions. From the Parties and Promotions, it went to DVDs. And then later on, we started a national motorcycle and social club movement with the Breaking Bread MC nonprofit and SC nonprofit, where we started doing backpack giveaways and toy drives, feeding the homeless, annual events, big brother and sister programs. From there, God just kept giving me the energy, and my boy Petey, DJ Petey, and a couple other guys who just seen the light and the glory in me, and they said, Foon, you're a good man, but you got to keep reinventing yourself. And I sat back and I'm like, okay, what do you mean by I got to keep reinventing myself? Well, what he meant was the things you was doing 20 years ago, some of them people ain't even active or relevant no more. Right. So the clout you had back then, yeah, people know about it and all that. But if you want to keep climbing the charts, you got to go with what's relevant in time. And you got to be able to reinvent yourself like you did with I Never Worry Intelligence. I remember you gave your brother the clothing line. You had left it alone. But once you remix it and put your spin back on it, this is the point that I'm talking about. You reinvented yourself by going to work at Juvenile Hall and the things that you did. So I basically kind of did that as a young man by the name of Timothy Spiff. One of my homeboys, we was in the streets together and running, and he been seeing the work that I was doing that I never got a check for, so he eventually came and he said, hey, Foon, you should come to Building Opportunities for Self-Sufficiency. And I said, what's that? He said, boss. I said, oh, well, I'm a boss, so I can represent that, you know what I mean? For sure. So after 40 years of my life, I got my first job where I finally worked for someone else, because I always said I didn't want to work for the next man. I wanted to be my own boss and have my own business, and I was successful with that. But I was allowed a platform from God to get a job that I can do, that I like and I love, and I'm able to give back to my community, where I can give 100% to what I do. Because the worst thing to do is to wake up every day and have a job that you regret getting out of the bed and going to. I jump up with honor and glory to go to my job, and now I have access at getting people off probation and parole, helping people with housing, helping people with Medi-Cal, helping people get their driver's license, guys that don't want to work because they feel like child support going to take their money from them. Well, that's no longer an obstacle. We're going to take you to child support. We're going to show you how to set it up where you can pay them and you don't have to run no more. Yes. And now you can get a job, because I understand, hey, I wouldn't want to work no job just for somebody to take my whole check. Yeah, for sure. You know, so basically, I'm in the business of barrier removers now. Any barrier or excuse you got that you think that you can't go or move on in life, I'm here to give people those opportunities and remove those barriers for them, so they could be self-sufficient for themselves.
Yes, sir.
That's the job that I do daily. On top of that, I'm still currently the CEO and founder of Mainline Graphics, my printing and T-shirt company, which I've been running for almost 11 years now. I just newly added Crown Executive Transportation to my platform, where we service party buses, exotic limousines, and many other transportation cars for your need.
Yes, sir. That's super dope, Phony. You know, and when you tie that into the model, you seem to have learned how to make those right connections, and then relationship management, being able to manage the right relationships, because people are our greatest resource. And so your mindset for 40 years, or well, not the entire 40 years, but at least for 25 of those years have been, I'm going to work for myself. I'm going to do this on my own. I've been getting it out the streets. I've been doing it this way for a long time, so I'm not going to take a check from somebody else. But then perspective says, wait a minute. If it's for a good cause, right, I may be willing to do that. And then maintaining a healthy relationship with your guy, you dissect it as stories are being told, so the audience understands like what to play in it. Because they may be listening to it like, oh, he just a story, he's just talking about himself, right? What does that got to do with me? Well, it has everything to do with how we make decisions along the way, because you always have a choice. I mean, even today, you could put all that to the side and get back to doing what you were doing if you decided to. See, people don't understand the power of a decision. Every day, right? Yeah. Every day, we have the power to decide. Are we going to use our superpowers for good or for evil? You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's just the bottom line. And some people choose to use theirs for evil. Some people choose to. I love the fact you said that I'm going to remove all barriers, right? Because a lot of folks don't understand. It is the narrative and the stories that we tell ourselves, right, that guide the way we move. So if something traumatizing happened to you in your life and you're holding on to that, right? So we've all lost close homies, right? We could spend our whole time of trying to avenge somebody's death or feel unworthy of still being here, right? Should have been me instead of them. I mean, or when other loved ones, grannies and fathers and mothers and people leave us in our lives, that could become the story. Or when we've been deceived or betrayed, there's a lot of things that people don't realize that rides along with them in their journey that impacts their decision. And so to be free, right, to free yourself, to get up every day and be like, I'm going to give the glory to God, and I know that I'm in a great space in life, so I'm going to embrace it wholeheartedly, is EI within itself, because you have freed yourself from any baggage that might be holding you back, and now you taking that energy and giving it to those who don't understand that yet, and saying, look, there's nothing that will stop you if you want to. If you want to do something, right, these little mini barriers you think that are problematic, we're going to help you remove them, because we have a different perspective. It's very much me, taking advantage of what the judge opportunity he gave me. When he reduced my felonies down to misdemeanors and dismissed them, that was a brand, because when we grew up, you don't get them knocked down at 18. Always told that a felony, that's it. So he gave me a new perspective, like I had no idea. And again, but I had a choice. I could go down the path of I got over it, you know what I mean? It was a fluke or whatever I told myself. Or I could say, you know what? Wow. Like, I'm not trying. I was very close. That penitentiary run was very close.
I know.
You know what I'm
saying? I was
saying?
right there with you.
Yeah.
Same judge gave me the same. Let me speak on it, man. I was with
Before
you.
you do that, though, I just thought about something, Foon. You're the first person I seen when I got released from Santa Rita. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Now that I think about it, dude, when they popped the door, you must have been coming to visit somebody. Yep, and I saw you was the first person I seen in Cuzzo. Probably don't remember because Cuzzo picked me up.
What do you mean I don't remember? In the Supernova.
In the Supernova with the 410s. Yeah, but go ahead. You was about to speak.
I mean, I don't think you remember, like, you was actually a platform for me, too, for that same judge, Judge Goodman, and this was something that I spoke about the other day that I was telling you when I was at Tammy's Cloud 10-year anniversary, how me and you were both once a part of the Underground Railroad with Clayton College. You know, I got a photographic memory. I don't forget anything. So the point that I'm making, you opened up the platform by talking to Judge Goodman about your T-shirt stuff, which all I did was follow suit. You know what I mean? So I came right behind you. It was like, hey, can I step in your chambers? Can I show you what I'm doing? Yes. And I was able to show him my T-shirts and the things that I was doing. And you had kind of already softened him up and opened him up with that. And I think he was just more amazed that out of all the black men who came through his court, that we were young entrepreneurs, and he seen that we had a chance to be something more than what we were. So why would he give us the 5 or 6 years that he could have given us when actually he ended up giving us an opportunity? And I was able to make T-shirts for him just as long as get off probation early. So
let me speak on something else about that I don't think either of you really talk about too much, and that's standing on this soil that we're standing on right now as we're in downtown Oakland, right? The emotional intelligence it took and the strength that it took to even have a relationship with a judge and still be able to move around in these streets, because people had things to say. Because I know you remember, like
they still do.
Right. And so, like you get so because a lot of times when people don't elevate and when they're in the same places that they are, then they got to feel like, oh, they only got there because they did this, or you snitched, or you cooperated, or things of this nature. And I think you need to speak on that, because I think there are times when people really need to think about a relationship that they're ignoring or avoiding because of what others may say, when that relationship may just be the relationship that takes you to the next level.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that I actually take pride in now. Like, look at me. Here it is, a guy from the streets that's ran with some of the worstest villains and all that now I sit at the table with the district attorney of Alameda County, the mayor of Oakland, the fire chief, many CEOs of different corporations, you know what I mean? So to me, that's a beautiful thing. It's not a bad thing. And people who haven't made a transition in their life, of course they're going to look at it the way they is, because when you on the bad side, you were told not to deal with people on the good side because you're doing the devil's work. So when that's put in your brain, first thing you going to think when you see a brother that come from the streets talking to a police officer or talking to a judge or doing something, oh man, that ain't cool, that ain't right. Instead of looking at it that this brother is breaking the ice and breaking barriers, he's actually opening doors for us to have a voice with these people so that they can see that, hey, maybe this guy does deserve a second chance, because DB come from that walk of life, Earl McLeod come from that walk of life, and these guys sit at the table with us, man. They're brilliant. They're excellent. They're good people at the end of the day. They just made the wrong decisions and mistakes in life.
And I think that's a really, I'm glad you say that too. And you guys want to talk some gangster street stuff too. All these cats all over, man, we don't talk to, and there ain't no real gangster alive that don't have relationship with the police. Because having a relationship with the police doesn't mean snitching. Like,
it's true.
Like there's a difference. Like if you a real gangster, that's why these cats out here ain't no gangsters, man. That's why it's a joke. There's no reason to be like, if you a real gangster, man, you gotta have a relationship with the police. That's how you get things done.
I mean, the real gangster gonna have relationships with everybody. Yes. Like DB was saying, you know, I always say you're only as good as your friends and your connects. Most real gangsters